Good morning and welcome to another New Life Youth Daily Devo. Today I want to ask you this question. Do you know how hard it is to resist in the heat of the moment? I know for over a decade of working in youth ministry, this is probably one of the biggest excuses that I have heard students make, and it's even an excuse that I made myself when I was a student. And it was simply this: I was in the heat of the moment. I just couldn't control what happened next. Well, today I'm so excited to share with you 3 places in Scripture where God guides us through this heat of the moment that we experience in temptation and how we can overcome it. So first, I want to look at Genesis chapter 39, verses 7 through 9. And here's what it says. Now Joseph was well built, which meant he had muscles, and handsome. And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." But he refused. "With me in charge," he told her, "my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns, he has trusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" Now, how do you feel about Joseph's reaction to Potiphar's wife? Do you think he hesitated whenever Potiphar's wife was like, "Come to bed with me"? Or do you think he had already made up his mind on what was right in God's eyes and what was wrong in God's eyes? I think it's very easy to see that whenever we set boundaries way in advance before we are ever in a relationship, it's easier to not get caught up in the heat of the moment because we already know what is right in God's eyes and what is wrong. Now let's read another story where things didn't quite work out that way. It's going to be in 2 Samuel chapter 11, verses 2 through 4. And here's what it says. One evening, David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of the palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful, and David sent someone to find out about her. The man said, "She is Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, and the wife of Uriah the Hittite." Then David sent messengers to get her. She came to him, and he slept with her. Ah! Now, when you read this, did David seem to have already made up his mind whenever he inquired about Bathsheba? Or do you think he would have been in this situation if he would have already had his mind made up on what was right in the eyes of God and what was wrong? I think it's pretty easy to see that David acted on an impulse. All right, finally, I want to read with you from the New Testament, and it is in 1 Timothy chapter 4, and we are going to be reading in verse 8. It says, "For physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come." When you set those boundaries way before you were ever in a relationship, it's easier to not get caught up in the heat of the moment because you've already made up in your mind what you want your future life to look like. You've already made up in your heart what you do and don't want to experience with somebody who is not your spouse. And so it's easier to be like Joseph when you've made up your mind in advance. Because if you haven't set those boundaries, you'll find yourself in the same shoes as King David, acting on impulse. So, comment below and answer this question for me. What is one way that you will be preparing yourself to avoid any unexpected temptation so you're not caught up in the heat of the moment? I'll see you guys next time.